Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast. Hope you're having an absolutely fantastic week wherever you are in this planet of ours. Here in Australia, we're all getting ready for the football finals. So, sort of preliminary finals this week. So the country's abuzz with people sort of, taking sides for which team or which type of football that they support. So it's madness here in Australia. So wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a great time. So this week, the Simply Tarot card of the week is the Seven of Cups. Now, the Seven of Cups is one of those really ambiguous sort of cards because you look at it and you see the gentleman there, sort of standing in the shadows, but it's all that glitters is not gold. It's a card that you've got to look beyond the clouds because there is sort of good things happening. It's sort of not just sort of looking at sort of like maybe fairy images, not looking at things squarely, but underneath all this is going to be some money improvements. So it's sort of like look for the sort of, I suppose, the diamond in the rough. Look for something that might be sparkling out of something that's not so sparkly in your life, that there's always new opportunities. There's always ways that we can make a difference in our lives, I think, if we only look hard enough. Sometimes I think we get so bogged down on the emotion of what's sort of happening that we forget to sort of look for sort of maybe a little miracle or two or something that might be sort of happening that we've overlooked. So that's one of these cards where you sort of, all that glitters is not gold. So, look beyond the clouds and you may just find that there's some money improvements there if you look hard enough that you can find that you can move your life forward, which is a very, very good thing. And, particularly with people struggling at the moment to try and put food on the table and, pay all their monthly commitments and things like that, it's not an easy time for a lot of people around the world, not just here in Australia. I'm hearing it from lots of my clients around the world that, things are tough and, they've got to find ways of stretching their family budget a little bit more each week. So this is a positive card in that way, that it's sort of suggesting that maybe there's some ways there that we can make some savings and make things just a little bit easier on everybody. So it's a nice card in that way. So astrologically speaking, I mean, every week I say we're having a big week. We are. This week we're sort of going to say happy birthday to all the Libras. The sun's just gone into Libra, so it's an exciting time of the year for them. It's their time to shine. It's their time to strut their stuff, to sort of walk onto centre stage and say, look at me, aren't I important? Because they are important. Every star sign is important. But for the rest of us, the other 11 signs, the time when the sun's in Libra is a time to try and bring our lives into balance. It's a time to weigh everything up. I look at the Libra energy as sort of not just the balancing of the scales, but trying to find the truth in the matter. Trying to find the truth of situations or things in your life that have been troubling you. Yes, after you've weighed everything up, then try and find the balance, but also try and find the truth. Because if you can find the truth will quite often bring everything into balance. Then it'll like, it's that light bulb moment. That's the piece that I've been missing. It may not necessarily be the answer that you want, but it can bring things more into perspective, that you can start to sort of find your way forward and try and find some solutions to the things that have been troubling you. So it's a really important time of the year. And, a lot of people give Librans a bad press. They sort of say, they're constantly out of balance. They can't make up their mind. They can't do this. Let me assure you, when they make their mind up, it's final. There's no going back. They might have taken a little bit of time and weighed everything up and looked at it from every angle, even more than once. But once they make that final decision, it is final. And interestingly enough, a lot of judges that work in the judicial system are actually Librans. So, that says a lot too, that they are able to weigh up the facts and figures before they bring down their final judgment. So next time you're talking to a Libra, maybe look at them through different eyes. Maybe look at them as being like a judge, that, they're sitting there weighing everything up, and when they bring their final decision down or give you some advice, it's the best piece of advice that they can come and give to you, because they've weighed everything up very, very carefully. So we've got the sun in Libra, as I've just spoken about. The sun in Libra is actually conjunct or holding hands Mercury, the planet of communication. So this is really good because Mercury feels quite comfortable here in Libra, because Mercury likes to talk, but Mercury also likes to get to the truth. So, it feels very, very comfortable sitting here. So it's a time there where if you've got to have a really important, difficult conversation or something that you've been putting off for some time because you've never been able to find the words or it hasn't been the right time, disregarding of what your star sign is, now is the perfect time to sort of maybe have that discussion, because both of you are receptive, you've got your listening ears on, you're open to sort of listen to what the other person has got to say. And maybe, just maybe, then we can get some resolutions, because Libra is also the great negotiator, of being able to sort of arbitrate and sort of find solutions. So this is the perfect time if there's been that tricky conversation that you haven't been able to have with a loved one, or maybe you think it's time to go in and ask the boss for a raise. But if that's the case, then make sure you go in armed with all the reasons why, not just I need the money. It's not always about I need the money. It's about showing the company or your boss why they should pay you more, because you do such a good job, or you bring this to the table, or that or the other. Or, I've just got some new skills that, we could implement, things like that. Show them value for money, and you'll have a much better opportunity of getting that raise. We also have Mars, the planet of action, has just moved out of Libra and gone into Scorpio. Now, Mars in Scorpio, to me, is one of those things, like when I first started astrology, the first thing I learned about anybody that had Mars in Scorpio in their chart was they had the ability to conquer and divide, it was a sort of like a military aspect, that they could go into battle and keep their head and everything would be fine. And yes, that's true. But when I see Mars in Scorpio in a transiting situation as it is now, I look at that and I think, well, maybe, just maybe, and I could be being very positive here, that we're going to get some breakthroughs with some of the trouble spots around the world, that maybe, just maybe, people are going to be prepared to come to the negotiation table and see some sense in that we need some peace, that, nobody's going to make progress until we get peace, until we get some sort of resolution, some solutions. So that's just on a bigger scale. Maybe that's what's going to happen. On a more personal level, Mars in Scorpio is going to be affecting the water signs, which are Scorpio, Pisces, and Cancer, opposite sign of Taurus. Now, what this is going to do is going to ask you to sort of be very, very logical and practical, and even militant in the choices and the decisions that you're making at the moment. It's like, stick to your guns. If you know you're right, then keep progressing. It's not necessarily a time do we have to go to battle, but we can use that strength of, like going to battle, of being prepared for the challenges or the choices that may be ahead of us. And not all of them are going to be negative. Some of them are going to be very positive. It gives you a tremendous stickability to be able to achieve your goals at the moment, because it's sort of like something is driving you from within. So sort of stick to your guns in a sense that, like, what you need to achieve. Then don't let anybody talk you out of it. Just keep, diligently working towards it, one step at a time, and you'll achieve your goals. It's a very positive time in that way. I actually like Mars in Scorpio because I feel it gives a depth to everything, that you're able to sort of really achieve your goals. Now, for those that are looking for love, Venus is in Virgo at the moment. Now, I want to look at this in a very broad sort of sense before we go into it in a little bit more detail. Now, Venus in Virgo is asking all the 12 signs to start to have a good, long, hard look at themselves. And I don't mean admire yourself in the mirror and say, oh, gee, aren't I gorgeous, or aren't I handsome? I'm saying look at yourself as an overall picture. Is there anything there that can be improved? Can you sort of start to sort of maybe, move your body a little bit more every day, get a little bit more exercise? For those people that are starting to feel that they're getting older and things are getting stiffer and whatever, look at other ways that you can sort of enhance that maybe can improve it. Is there changes that need to happen to your diet and your lifestyle? I think a lot of people underestimate how much sleep we actually need, that, they think, oh yeah, I can manage on a few hours sleep a day. Well, let me assure you, it catches up with you much later in life. So, there's a reasons why that, our ancestors talked about, work, rest and play. It's really important to have those things in balance. Yes, we need to eat properly. We need to get enough sleep. We need to get enough water. We need to have some downtime. We need to have some happy times in our life. We can't do all work and no play, because that takes everything out of balance. So it's a time to sort of look at what your schedule is in your life, and let's see if we need to make some tweaks to that balance. On a more personal level, for those that are seeking love, Venus in Virgo is not the most romantic places for Venus to be. It's sort of very critical. It's sort of almost standoffish in a sense when it comes to love. It's sort of not that gushy, bright, positive, sparkly sort of love. It's like, oh, okay, well, it's a very practical sort of love. Yes, I could fall in love with them because they're not only good looking, they're articulate, they keep themselves nice, they've got a good job, it's all the practical things. So Venus in Virgo is really sort of affecting the Virgos, obviously, asking them to have a really good, long, hard look at themselves, look at their diet, their health, their lifestyle. Is there anything there that they need to improve on, could change or could make things better. It's also affecting the other earth signs, which is Capricorn and Taurus, and the opposite sign of Pisces. So it's asking them to make some modifications in their life. If they haven't been, really feeling as if they've been achieving everything that they wanted to do, well, maybe you need to go back and have a look at how you approach your life. That's the message there for those people. So we're now moving on to Jupiter in Cancer. Now, Jupiter is the planet of expansion and opportunity, but Jupiter also brings expanding waistlines, because quite often when Jupiter's in a sign, we tend to sort of think, oh, I can just have another piece of that chocolate cake. It was so nice. And before you know it, they've eaten half the cake. Jupiter says to you, you must learn to set boundaries. Yes, I can create opportunities for you to expand things, including your waistline, but you've got to also work within parameters or set boundaries for yourself that make things a lot easier. So Jupiter in Cancer will be there for another few months. I have lots of Cancer clients, and they've been sort of getting in touch with me saying, I've had this opportunity and that opportunity has landed in my lap. I don't know what to do about it. My instincts always say to me, follow your instincts, follow your gut feeling. And particularly with Cancers, because they really do vibrate on feelings, and it's sort of, unless they feel secure in themselves, they don't necessarily take a step forward. And it's interesting for Cancers because they're quite often seen as walking sideways to go forward, because they are a crab after all. So Jupiter in Cancer is also affecting the water signs, which is Scorpio, Pisces, and the opposite sign of Capricorn. But it is washing over the other remaining 8 signs. I've got lots of different people in my circle of clientele around the world that, aren't just all one particular sign. And lots of people are sort of having opportunities fall into their lap now that they've sort of thought weren't ever going to happen, or are too far gone, or I applied for that job 6 months ago, never heard back from them, and then really surprised when they get that that opportunity to sort of revisit it and sort of say, oh, is this really for me? I'm not sure. So it's it might have been right for you at the time, but now when you come back and have the opportunity to revisit it, look at it through fresh eyes. Don't just say, yes, 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 I want it. Make sure that it is really the expansion of the opportunity that you're hoping for, that you've been looking for. So finally, we're going to talk about Uranus in Gemini. Uranus has moved into Gemini, will be there for a number of years. So Uranus here sort of actually feels quite comfortable in Gemini, because Uranus likes to come in and tip everything upside down and create opportunities out of nowhere and do things in a very sudden fashion, like a bolt of lightning. And Gemini doesn't like to be sort of stuck in any way. Gemini likes to be able to flit from one thing to another. So it actually feels quite comfortable there. But the thing is, we need to be very careful of here, Geminis, is that you don't let everything get out of control, that you don't sort of just look for creating new opportunities or bolt of lightnings all the time. You've got to give it some sort of love and some attention, and give it time to expand out after you've had that opening. Don't just sort of flit on to the next thing. So this will be affecting the air signs, which is Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, and the opposite sign of Sagittarius. So make sure that you've got a little bit of discipline there so that you can maximize what's actually happening or what's coming from Uranus creating these opportunities for you. So we're going to talk with Sarah now in Harlingen Mountain, Montana in USA. Sorry there, Sarah. How are you today? How can I help you?
I'm great. Thank you.
Do you have a question I can answer for you, please, Sarah?
I do. I am almost 40, and a large event, huge life-changing event has happened to me within the last few months. And I am struggling, as well as searching for answers and my life trajectory, I guess I should say. And I'm just looking for any answers, something. I'm looking for something.
Okay. It's really interesting that you said you've just turned 40. I mean, usually when we turn 40, we're no longer children. We're certainly, we're past our early stages of adulthood, but we're not old either. And quite often during that period of time, from about 40 to about 45, we go through some life-changing events. Sometimes they can happen literally out of nowhere, that sort of tips our world upside down, and we've got to reorganize everything and relook at things. And this is what I feel has happened to you. It's sort of like, wow, where the hell did that that come from? I didn't see that coming. And now that it's here, it's sort of like scrambling to try and put pieces together into a jigsaw puzzle. But the problem is the jigsaw puzzle might be 4 puzzles and we've got pieces from all different 4. We can't formulate it into one. The first thing that they're sort of sharing with me is you've got to stop and take a breath, sweetie. Not everything has to be sorted out yesterday. We've got time, we've got time on our hands. This to me was something, the changes that are happening or the things that have been happening to you were meant to happen. And it's almost like unconsciously, I think you were willing change, but you weren't precise in what it was that you were wanting to happen, sort of like you were jumping all over the place. And it's sort of like, and that's not a bad thing because it meant that you were open to many ideas. You weren't just putting all your eggs in one basket. You were flinging the doors open and saying, I'm ready to take the world by storm. I'm ready to do some different things. So in the midst of all these changes, Sarah, has there been a move of residence or has there been some changes to the home?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, because that was to me, I was going to say the pivot point, the beginning point of all this, like sort of this was sort of like where everything seemed to start. Now, I'm also picking up tears there and I'm also picking up a lot of emotion that I'm not, look, I don't say crying is necessarily a negative emotion. I'm just saying there's a lot of emotion here that you've had to work through. And this has made it incredibly difficult for you because one minute you sort of feel like you've got everything sort of sorted out and you've got a plan. And then sort of it's like somebody comes along and with the steamroller and runs over that and flattens everything out. And it's like I've got to put energy back into it again. That's okay. Don't look at that as a sort of a negative. Look at it as, okay, maybe you were moving a little bit too fast or maybe it wasn't quite the right plan and sort of, we had to take that out of the equation as well. Was there sort of changes in your personal relationship as well during this?
Yes. There's been a lot of personal changes of relationships, a lot of responsibility role switching. My mom is now primary caregiver of my daughter, my teenage daughter, of which my mom was not a primary caregiver for me as a teenager. So there's a lot of role reversal happening as well.
Yeah. They keep showing me these tears, but they also keep showing me that you're strong enough to come through this. So I don't know how to tie this in. They keep showing me the back view of a man with black hair, yet I didn't feel that was your partner as such.
It is not. That is my stepdad who has passed on, who protects me.
Right. Well, he must be there in spirit around you at the moment because I just keep seeing him from the back view and it was like he wouldn't move out of my road. Like I couldn't move him, like he wasn't going anywhere. And I mean that in a kind sort of way. But it was sort of like, well, from the back view, it was sort of like, well, okay, I've got this. She doesn't need anything else. I'm here to help. So why
that
do
just gave me goosebumps.
Well, that's good, sweetie, because he is there and he is helping and he keeps telling me that you're strong enough. I don't know how to put this delicately. Sometimes I'm not very delicate, but I don't feel that your mum should be your caregiver of your child.
I don't feel either. I feel like my older adult son should be, and we're working on towards that. However, nobody's fighting. None of us are fighting. I'm not fighting with my mom, my son. None of us are fighting. We're all getting along very well. Actually, better than we have probably in a long time. But yes, I would like my daughter to be placed with my adult son.
I feel she's going to be. I mean, look, I don't think your mother did it out of any sort of malice or, to be nasty or anything. It's just the way things turned out. And I think probably the major thing that's coming through from the person on the other side, you said your stepdad with the dark hair, is that he's got you. He's cradling you in his arms and just let him take the lead. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't have to do everything by yourself. He's there guiding.
Yeah, thank you.
He's there guiding you, and
I have
you what,
I know
sweetie?
I have him, and I have him, and I have my grandmother, who it was her birthday
Mhm.
yesterday, and she's also
Right.
passed on. But every time I've ever gotten a reading, they've always told me you are protected. You have I have a
Mm.
wonderful guide and a wonderful protector, and I know it's always been my stepdad, but I've always tried to push and talk to him and push through and have him come to me, and my grandmother's always been the one that has. So this is a really huge.
Yeah, well, yeah, but they take it in turns, sort of like men do boy things and ladies do girl things. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how the best way I can describe it to you. They're both there, but at the moment, he's the one taking the lead. He's the one that says to me, I've got this, just tell her that this is okay. That she's got to just let things pan out. So unfortunately, sweetie, that's where I've got to leave it, Sarah. But I know that you're going to get more messages from your dad. Just, when things come into your head, your stepdad, when things come into your head, just say thank you. Don't sort of try and work out who the message came from. Just be grateful that it came through and let them do their job, because the more you try and work out who it is, you're actually preventing them from giving you more information. So just say thank you, that's lovely, and move on and let them they do their job. So I hope that's helped, sweetie. We're going to talk with Robin now in Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. Are you there, Robin?
Hi, how are you?
Very well, thank you, Robin. How can I help you today? Do you have a question for me, sweetie?
Yes, I feel stuck. Do you know, can you help me with some advice for my next step? I'm just feeling stuck, very stuck. Like I don't know how to explain it. I'm a recovering addict. I have 15 years clean. I live with my
Hmm.
son. I was trying to move out, but my son and then
Hmm.
needed my help, so I decided to stay. But I'm feeling stuck. I'm feeling like I'm not upset about staying because I want to help, but I feel stuck. Like, and when I get this stuck feeling, it's not good for me. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you see me
Yeah,
being
I do,
okay, or do
because
you
you
see
feel
me
like
going?
you're all tied up.
Excuse me.
I said, you feel like somebody's got you all tied up, that you can't break
Yes,
free, that you can't
yes,
be yourself, and it's literally like, so I what I was picking up, what I was feeling was like somebody's got ropes tied around you and I can't move, like, and I don't like that
yes,
feeling. And it's not that they're doing it, well, they are doing it intentionally, but I'm saying they're not doing it to restrict you. It's sort of, they feel they're protecting you, but what they don't understand is that you don't need protecting from yourself. You're quite capable of making choices and decisions for you. That, it's nice for them to have an opinion and express their opinion, but their opinion doesn't have to be law. You're a grown up. You can make your own decisions. Look, I appreciate that, they might be concerned that if you go a certain way that you might, regress and sort of go back to your addictions. But, they've got to have faith in you too, that what you're doing. I know that you said that you were trying to move out a while ago and you've decided to stay for various reasons, but I do feel in 2026 there's going to be an amicable discussion about changes to how the household is structured. I'm not sure whether it's you moving out or whether it's your son moving out, but somebody's moving out, but it's the right time. And everything will start to flow then. It's sort of like you won't feel so restricted. They don't feel as if they're so responsible. It's sort of like life's evolving and changing. Sometimes when we get to the end of a cycle, it can seem as if it's the most restricting part of the cycle, or it can seem like that it's the most confusing part. And that's where I feel that you're both at the moment. It's like you're both got cycles that are coming to an end and they've collided together, and this is what's making it
mm,
feel more intense. And it's just, all I can suggest to you is, Robin, is take 1 hour at a time. Don't try and think about what you're going to do tomorrow or the next day or whatever, unless you have to make those plans. But let's just try and live in the moment, and it won't feel so restricting as it has done. I mean, look, I know your son loves you and I know he's got his best intentions for you, but sometimes he suffocates you, he's smothering you, and that's not good either.
yes,
He
yes.
needs to sort of break free of that and start exploring his own life a little bit more and not being so concerned about you. It's interesting because what I'm picking up on a past life situation, two of your five past lives I picked up, he was actually the mother.
Oh, Lord.
And this is why he feels this overdeveloped sense of responsibility towards you. And I'm going to say you weren't exactly the best child. You know, you were a little bit wayward and, you know, wanted to do your own thing and explore the world and didn't really give a rat's about anybody except yourself. And that's okay. You know, that was the journey you were on in that lifetime. But he remembers on a soul level that he was trying to protect you. He was trying to prevent you from getting yourself into trouble. And he's taken that into this lifetime in not so much the wrong way, but he doesn't understand or hasn't realized why he's become super protective of you in this lifetime. He feels this overwhelming responsibility to make your world right. So now that you understand that, that may just be enough to break this cycle a little bit, because as you come to terms with that and understand that, and sort of, you know, you'll see him saying or doing something and you'll have a little chuckle to yourself and you think you're the mother again, you know what I mean? Or you think you're the parent again.
Yeah.
That sort of keeps breaking the cycle. And it's interesting that
Yeah.
once we understand these things, how we can sort of break it. And it's not so much we're breaking karma, it's we're acknowledging it. And that's what the karma wants us to do, or understanding from a past life is wants us to acknowledge it and accept it. Then it sort of dissolves and disappears into the ether. You know, it's like we've got the message. So, you know, look, I think there's some really good days coming up ahead of you. And I think, you know, next year is going to be a very different year where the two of you will allow each other to breathe and sort of get on with your own lives. But you're doing really, really well, Robin. I don't think there's any need for anybody to be worried about you regressing in any way. You're super strong. You know what you want, you know, and that's a
Yeah.
good thing. So, you know, you've done really well, sort of, other than sort of this very suffocating sort of bound feeling I've got. I mean, I think everything else is progressing nicely in your life.
Yes. Thank you.
You're very,
That
very
was
welcome,
helpful.
Robin. That's where we're going to have to leave Robin now, because we've come to the end of the show. The show goes very quickly each week. Look, you know, there's lots of things happening around the world at the moment with lots of meetings with dignitaries and things like that. I don't want to get too involved in that sort of stuff. I mean, that's for everybody's own personal taste to watch the news and find those sort of things. I just want to leave you this week with a song that I think is quite appropriate, and maybe they could take it into some of these world talks and, you know, lighten things up a little bit. It's a very old song. It's always a song that's always had a lot of high energy, and it was one that jumped out at me this morning before it's morning here in Australia before the show, when I was looking through my song list to sort of think, what could I leave everybody with this week? And this one jumped out at me. It was I Was Made for Loving You, Baby by Kiss. So, you know, I mean, I think that's a nice high energy song. And if plenty of people sort of started to look at, you know, how we could sort of make the world a better place, wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? So I'll leave you with Kiss until next week. I Was Made for Loving You, Baby. Bye for now.